sort of like handicapping when we expect Trey Lance will become the starter, or when he expects Trey Lance will become the starter. The best guess. I guess I'll give you a little background real quick. I mean, today he threw his first pick. He hasn't looked bad yet. He was 9-13. There was a drop. He threw a pick. He missed he missed Dwelly. He missed Kittle open in the end zone. Those were his incomplete passes. The pick was forced pass over the middle that a linebacker stepped in front of. Other than that, really strong arm, really mobile. You've seen him play before. Seems to be, you read what they said about him in Peter King's article, that he's spending the most time in the playbook of anyone on the team. And Deebo Samuel says he has balls out there, pardon my French. Seems like the organization is impressed. I'm impressed. When do you think that Trey Lance ultimately will become the starter? Sorry to talk so much.
Yeah, so I've been pretty consistent with this one, right? I keep talking about when he's ready. I use that term, when he's ready. What up, Jason? Hell of a job on the camp coverage, by the way, Jason.
Hell of a job, Jason. Shout out. Subscribe.
Yeah. Make sure you do subscribe. But I've been consistent, right? I keep saying when he's ready, right? And when he's ready is so vague. And even Kyle Shanahan says when he's ready as well. He's like, when he's ready, everybody will know. But he doesn't even give a description of when that is. He just says, I'll know and everybody will know.
Yeah.
But if you want me to put a more specific timeline on it, then you got to look at the history, right? I mean, Ben Meyerson posted the stat, I think all 10 quarterbacks drafted in the top. Let me get the stat correct.
Yeah. This was a great stat from Ben Meyerson.
Yeah.
He's been on the show and is really good. Writes for all 49ers. Subscribe to him. He was saying basically since 2011, since his rookie wage scale came into effect, every single quarterback who's been drafted top 3 has started week 1 except for 4. Yeah. Bortles, Trubisky, Mayfield, Goff. Of those 4, 3 started by week 5, and the other one, Goff, got in by week 10.
Right. So that's a great stat, right? That's really important to look at, because when you look at the rookie wage scale, it's prudent for any team to take advantage of their quarterback being cheap as early as possible. That's why we keep talking about the benefits of having a cheaper quarterback, and, the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, all of those things. That's important. But the second thing is it's the latter part. The 4 that didn't, right? The other 3 started early. It came quick. I mean, I remember the Baker Mayfield thing. Baker Mayfield started week 3, Thursday Night Football. He didn't start, He came in after the first quarter in relief for Tyrod Taylor. And he walked in, and guess what? It was immediately clear that there's a stark difference between Baker Mayfield's ability and Tyrod Taylor's ability. Now, he might not have been as mature as Tyrod Taylor, and throughout the season that board, I think he threw 14 interceptions, and he did turn the football over more than he did even for the last 3 years at Oklahoma when he was breaking quarterback efficiency records. But the natural ability of Baker Mayfield was very much clear from day one. And you looked at Baker Mayfield when he first started in week 4, and it was pretty obvious that why didn't Baker Mayfield start week 1 and 2? What did Tyrod Taylor show? There's nothing Baker Mayfield could have changed between weeks 1, 2, and 3, for him to suddenly become Baker Mayfield. His arm wasn't getting stronger. He wasn't becoming more accurate. He wasn't going to become more mobile in the pocket, right? It was just a matter of not wanting that pressure of having him starting week 1, which is why I think it was more of a conservative decision to start Tyrod Taylor. Similar thing with Justin Herbert last year, honestly. And so I think that's kind of the path the Niners will end up following, right? I keep going back to the when he's ready. I just think that they'll give, because of the $26 million cap hit for Garoppolo. And I keep talking about how Garoppolo doesn't matter, and I still don't think he matters at this point. They traded too much, invested too much in Trey Lance, where it's all about Trey Lance and when he's ready. But I don't think they'll push it too much this season just because of the state of their roster. Having Garoppolo, I think Garoppolo you'll see early in the season, maybe the first couple weeks. But I think it'll become fast, because the problem is when you're the bridge quarterback, and the bridge quarterback is always less talented than the starter. Even though Garoppolo is better than your average bridge quarterback, he is less talented than Trey Lance, just as Tyrod Taylor was less talented than Baker Mayfield. Just as you go down the list, I mean, Sam Bradford was less talented than Carson Wentz. They're all less talented than the guy that you drafted, which is why that guy was a top 5 overall pick. And so when you look at it like that, I think the most important thing is that you're going to see plays, right, where Garoppolo maybe has a poor play, and all of a sudden, Trey Lance, people start calling for Trey Lance, right? And that's going to be the difficulty where every start Garoppolo has, there will be a conversation for Trey Lance, and he's going to get critiqued play to play. And the moment he has a bad game, really the fan base, I think, and everything will start clamoring for Trey Lance. And that's how I think he'll end up starting. So I hate predicting, but you put me in a spot where I have to predict. So if I had to predict, I think somewhere within those first 5 weeks, Garoppolo is going to have one of those bad games, and it's going to just move and be a perfect segue to the end of Garoppolo and into Trey Lance.
Yeah. So you would have to say at this point, you're thinking he's probably not going to start week 1 if you had to bet money on it.
If I had to bet money on it, I would bet money that they should that they wouldn't start in week 1.
They wouldn't start.
But if you ask for my opinion on it, if he's ready week 1, forget Garoppolo.
No, I think that's absolutely possible he starts week 1. I already bet basically $50 that he's going to start week 1 with my dad. Well, a nice bottle of wine. I already made the bet. Okay. So we'll see. But if he doesn't start week 1, as Ben Myers has pointed out, as you pointed out, he's probably starting by week 5 at the latest, most likely. And here's the thing. Let's say Jimmy starts week 1 against Detroit. It's possible that Jimmy plays great. It's also possible that he doesn't, even though it's Detroit. The thing about Jimmy is he didn't play well week 1 last year. That was the loss to Arizona. He didn't play well week 1, 2019. That's where he threw that. Was it a pick 6 against Tampa?
To Vernon Hargreaves, yeah.
Yeah. He didn't play well in week 1 of 2018. That's when he threw 3 picks against Minnesota. So he's a slow starter. He could lose, or he could get hurt, in which case Trey Lance would be – if Jimmy Garoppolo loses week 1 to Detroit, Trey Lance is starting week 2. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, 100%. Because if they lose week 1 to Detroit, the sky's falling.
No, absolutely. So I feel like the Niners have to be aware of that. And it's like, it may not happen. Jimmy could win, and then you could kind of work it out 2, 3, 4 weeks later, or that happens. So the other thing they could do is, if Trey Lance is really looking good and they don't want to talk about it, they never call it a quarterback competition, but he's really looking ready, in their opinion. Then they put Jimmy Garoppolo out there for 1 preseason game, and they make him 10 for 11 with some screens and a couple quick passes, but nothing where he holds the ball longer than 2 seconds. And you trade him that week for whatever you can get and pay for half his salary. And just say, you know what, we pumped his salary up as much as we can. He's healthy. Let's count our blessings, trade him now, and go all in, as opposed to waiting until potentially week 2.
I just think they won't do that. I think they're looking for value for Jimmy Garoppolo. Otherwise, they would have already traded him and signed some other guy to just. Well,
I guess what I'm saying is, if he starts week 1 and loses and they bench him, then they're screwed.
They're done. The value's gone. No, I 100% agree with that, but I also think they're looking for too much value from him in the first place. I just think that you're not going to get compensation, similar to what they even got originally at this point, just because all the jobs are taken, right? There's no buyers in that market right now.
If they bench him week 2 or week 4 and leave him on the bench the rest of the season, that's a big mistake. And I think
it's a mistake.
Big mistake.
But you know what I think? I don't think it's a big mistake. And here's why I don't think it's a big mistake. They've already put so much into this quarterback position and invested so much in Trey Lance that even if they get nothing of value for Garoppolo, if Trey Lance is really good, then really that 1 pick or whatever, you can kind of brush it under the table, because you can just be like, well, yeah, we didn't get anything from him, but Lance is really good. We got that part right, and you can move forward like that. So
that's fair. No, but the only reason I say it'd be a big mistake is you got $26 million on the bench when your cornerback situation is dire. Like today, Emmanuel Mosley's been out the whole time because he's tested positive for COVID. So they let Tim Harris Jr. start at that spot for 4 days. He was awful. And today they just had an open competition. I almost got a rep. They were like, Grant, do you want to try? Because I was like, nah, I don't think that's fair. I haven't warmed up, but that's where they're at.
So here's the counter argument, though. They haven't addressed the cornerback position even when they have had assets to be able to address it.
But that's not the only position. But that's not the. But you know what I'm saying? That's not the only spot.
I'm saying even if they have $26 million available, we keep throwing out this idea of go get Stephon Gilmore. That's just an idea. There's no way this team is going to actually end up going and getting Stephon Gilmore because they don't prioritize investing in the cornerback position. Their biggest investment was getting Jason Verrett on a league minimum contract. And luckily he somehow came back and he's saving them right now. But I mean, look at their investment.
I'm just saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is costing them serious depth at other positions. And if they had moved off of him earlier, they would have had an opportunity to address it. And they don't have that opportunity until he's off the roster.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about from their perspective.
True.
I'm saying that the way I see it is like, if you're looking at it, if you have 26 million, immediately go get something, right? Go get something at cornerback and start it. I don't think they look at it as just if we had 26 million, all of a sudden they're going to make a move, just because their history says that they just do not address that position for whatever reason.
Fair. I'm just saying, if something doesn't work out with Emmanuel Mosley and he doesn't come back from COVID 100% or he's a little rusty, their week 1 starter opposite Jason Verrett, Dante Johnson. That's where they're at. And I don't care who their quarterback is. They're not going to win a ton of games with Dante Johnson starting at cornerback. And the reason that that's the next guy up is because they have all their money poured into, backup quarterback or whatever you want to call Jimmy.
Right.
So,
and I mean, to kind of put a bow on this, right? Because this just became a Jimmy Garoppolo topic, right? We just kept talking about him. But the reality of it is a Trey Lance topic, and it is when Trey Lance is going to be the starter. And it keeps going back to this idea of top 5 quarterbacks play, and they play early, right? I think the point is, and I think the most important point to me is, I think a lot of people are obsessed with this idea that somehow Trey Lance is going to get markedly better by not playing. And I really push back on that narrative. And I ask the question of how much of these quarterbacks are actually getting developed in the NFL today, right? Like 20 years ago, the old school thinking was if you get a guy to sit in a system for 2-3 years, you can get him ready to play. But with the way the game is, how easy it is for quarterbacks, how much coaches are adjusting their system to run the few concepts that quarterbacks have run since they were like 15 years old, playing in 7-on-7 leagues and all of that. Really, these quarterbacks, besides Josh Allen, who's the one example, aren't getting markedly better, year to year. Like Justin Herbert, week 1 is not going to be that much difference from what he was week 2 to week 17. It's not like because he sat week
college
1,
football and
he got that much better.
Isn't that stark anymore? Like
right.
Joe Montana ran the option at Notre Dame. He was running the option at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So then he had to learn the West Coast offense. I mean, the stuff that Trey Lance is doing right now, he did all that stuff in college. It's just like speed of the game, that kind of stuff, like new verbiage. I like saying verbiage.
But look at Baker Mayfield, right? What has changed about Baker Mayfield since he walked in from Oklahoma? When he's had a good system and a decent offensive line around him, he's been a really good quarterback, a top 15, top 8, 16 quarterback in the NFL. When he hasn't had that, he hasn't played well. It's not because Baker Mayfield, the player, is getting better. Like, he didn't get better from year 2 to year 3. His surroundings got better from year 2 to year 3. Deshaun Watson walked into the NFL and was leading the NFL in touchdowns by like 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns. He was a star from day one. Patrick Mahomes sat 1 year. Sure, you can call that development, but then he had one of the greatest statistical seasons for a quarterback ever in his second.
I just want to say real quick that I think that Lance can develop on the field.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
He lacks so much experience that he really, I'm seeing him now. Last thing I want to say. Well, I think we can kind of transition to the next topic. I'm going to answer the questions. I haven't lost him. How the Niners are going to use Lance until he's a starter. And then how they're going to use him after he's a starter.
I did want, if you don't mind, I wanted to just go back to your last point as you can improve on the field. I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson has improved year 1 to year 4, but he's improved as a quarterback. Not in terms of, he hasn't gotten markedly better. Like, he's improved from his ability to play from the pocket. And that's where Lance will get better from that. But he's not going to get better at playing from the pocket and becoming a drop back passer, which is really what he hasn't done in college and what he's not going to have really do in the NFL his first couple of years by sitting and watching Garoppolo do it. He's going to do it by starting 4 years and doing like that. But
And when he plays it first, he's going to play the way he played in college, which is 20 throws, 22, some runs, safety first. And then they're going to build from there. They're not going to come in and be like, all right, here we go. We're going to have you like 40 throws in the game plan. And we're going to ask, they'll build up to that through experience in game.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be able to sit him 1 year Watch Garoppolo play, and next year,
And
if
be
they
better
sit him
for
in,
it.
he'll be already ready to be the perfect drop back passer and all of that. That
Only
just
way he
doesn't
needs to sit
happen
in
in
here
the
is if
NFL
he
anymore.
literally can't memorize the playbook or something like that, and that's not going to be the
Yeah.
issue.
I
Michael
don't
says,
think
Grant,
that's
we
the
all
issue.
know that Trey is a cannon. Do you think Trey can develop a beautiful pass with touch? Cap never had any touch on any of his passes. What do you think?
Yeah, he has a way more flexible arm than Kaepernick.
That's
And
true.
he has a quicker release than Kaepernick. And it's not that he doesn't have touch. His touch is just not consistent. I can pull up throws where he throws with ridiculous touch and accuracy. For him, it's just about consistency. And the question with him when
Experience.
consistency is just because you haven't seen anything enough to say that he can actually do that. You see a couple of great deep balls in college, then you see a couple of bad ones. Well, you only see like 6 of them total. Not 6 is a small number, but you know what I mean? You see a very small number of them total in his entire college career. How do you know if he's good at it or how do you know he's bad at it? Because the good ones are really, really good, and then the bad ones are not so good.